I've been involved with immigration policy since 1979, and I have never seen such enormous change in immigration policy in my entire professional career. And I decided that it was really important for a paper to be written that really described all the changes to immigration policy and to do some analysis on both the individual impact of those changes, but equally importantly, the cumulative impact of all those changes. And to look not just at the substantive changes to immigration policy and programs, but to look at the changes in how those changes are being made and have been made, and the changing roles and responsibilities of the various players in immigration. The paper looks at the breadth of changes that have taken place in all aspects of immigration policy, both permanent entrance to Canada and temporary entrance to Canada, as well as the changes to the citizenship processes whereby permanent residents can apply and obtain their citizenship status. So some of the changes, for example, in the permanent entrance have affected federal skilled workers that come into Canada on the basis of the point system. People who come to Canada as provincial nominees, nominated by the provinces, people who come to Canada as investors or as entrepreneurs, those are all people under the economic class. There have also been significant changes to people who have come in under the family class, whether they are spouses or parents or grandparents of people here already in Canada. There have also been very significant changes to the refugee process, both in terms of people who come to Canada and apply for refugee status from within Canada or at our borders, and those people selected by Canada abroad as refugees. Some of the changes that have been introduced, particularly the introduction of a low-skilled worker program where it's not the workers that are necessarily low-skilled, it's the jobs that they are going to be filling that are low-skilled. There's been an enormous increase in people coming in under that program. There have also been changes to citizenship and how people who have come to Canada as permanent residents or as refugees apply and obtain their citizenship status. Some of the other changes involve the processes by which decisions are made, and there's been a move very much towards much more ministerial decision-making as opposed to parliamentary decision-making. And there have been changes in terms of the roles of the various players involved in our immigration processes, changing roles for employers, changing roles for post-secondary educational institutions, changing roles for sponsors, whether they are family sponsors or refugee sponsors, and changes that impact on the immigrants themselves. What's interesting about all these changes is that some of them really are based on evidence and based on evaluation, and those, I think, are the ones that are actually positive changes. Those, however, will depend on how they're implemented. The idea and the direction, I think, is very positive. For example, putting more emphasis on language. For example, having a trade stream for the first time that focuses specifically on skilled tradespersons. I think that those are positive, but a lot will depend on how they are implemented. And there are some concerns about how some of those changes may be implemented. Other changes have been made without much evidence at all, and they seem to be more anecdotally determined rather than research or evaluation based. And there's a third set of changes that one could argue, and I do argue, are counter to the evidence, where there doesn't seem to be any rationale, and in fact there is evidence from other countries or even evidence in our own country that would argue very strongly against those changes. There are some aspects of the current Canadian immigration system that are problematic and that really could benefit from some amendments and some changes. The government has chosen, rather than to focus in on a variety of alternatives that could have addressed those systems, to do a kind of holus bolus overhaul of the immigration system, and to do it in a way that is problematic, without the necessary consultation, without the necessary planning, without the necessary evidence to make sure that they are addressing those problems and not creating a series of new ones.